initially I started out with my messaging was, hey, if you change this piece of JavaScript code from this to this, then it's going to work. And obviously later on, I found out that, okay, this is something that a hacker might say. And many people were sort of like thinking that I was at some kind of like social engineer or doing some kind of hacking or something. And I very quickly sort of learned to change my messaging so that I don't immediately go towards the JavaScript code in the first message itself. That can wait. First, let me just establish who I am and, my credibility and everything else. And then I can sort of say, hey, by the way, it's just an easy fix. If you can just do this, then it's going to work in Opera. So that was interesting. And yeah, there was this one big website as well, I remember, which I won't name right now, but it was the biggest reported website which wasn't working for Opera in India.
Rhymes with?
Well, it's an acronym, so I don't know. But they have a huge office. It's a financial institution, and it has a huge office in Mumbai. And I was going there for a conference. So I was like, okay, I'm already in Mumbai. Maybe let me just contact them and see if they're willing to have a chat. I can physically go there and see and talk to them. I somehow reached them and went through many different layers of security to eventually talk to them. And over there, I said, okay, if you just change these things to this, then it's going to work. And they said, okay, can you show us? And at that time, the security was such that I didn't even in that room have an active internet connection. So I had to, what they did was they printed out the source code of the website and they gave it to me on paper. And then I had to use a pencil to mark out the pieces of code that they needed to change on paper and give it to them. And then they did that and they fixed it. So that was one of the biggest wins that I remember, which was how I did it.
That earlier example that you gave me, the story that you were saying about just sending somebody that, oh, here's the code that you need to put in. It's like saying, hey, you've won the lottery. Just click this link to get to.
I mean, now I know how ridiculous that seems. But at that time, I was like, okay, I'm saving them multiple like back and forth. I can just tell them what the issue is. Yeah. But that's not how human beings work. They're instantly suspicious of people who they don't have any idea of, who are asking a significant change in their website. So of course they have reason to be suspicious. So that was
So the takeaway is that, when you're reaching out to somebody cold, you want to first just say hi, and focus on building that relationship, and then talking about, what it is that you have to offer.
For me, it was establishing first that I was from the real Opera. It wasn't someone impersonating, that was one of the main things that I found people had a concern about that. And over time, that was one of the reasons why it was also good to talk in public and have that record, that if people search for me, they found not just this one entry, but multiple different YouTube videos and all those kind of things. So that was nice for people to Google you and you say that, okay, you are who you say you are, first of all. And then, going into, some of the other details that you want to go into.
So my sort of takeaway is that sort of the evangelist role is something that sales can learn a lot from, because you're out there building relationships and offering value. And in some cases, not even expecting anything in return. Because I don't even think there's any transactional element to an evangelist role, because you're not out there trying to sell Opera. You're just trying to help people have a better experience of using that product.
Yeah. And one of the things which, I didn't do that as much because my role was a little bit more focused on raising everyone, lifting all ships. But one of the things that I did get better at was qualification. So, you have a bunch of leads and you want to qualify which are the qualified leads. That's a pretty typical thing that you do in sales. And those are things that I had to sort of do as well when it came to reaching out to who are the decision makers who, who could make sense to talk to. You don't want to talk to a person in, say, marketing who has no idea of how to change or make changes in the website, for example, right? So you would want to know who are the people to talk to who can make an impact that you would want, right? So how do you correctly qualify by whatever, criteria that you have? I learned how to do that. I didn't focus too much on it because my role didn't require me to focus too much on it. But of course, salespeople, I think, would require that in a much more sharper capacity, I guess.
That's so spot on. It's like you're trying to optimize and be efficient in terms of this is the person I need to talk to, and then really just focusing on that. And the ability to identify who that person is obviously comes with experience and all that stuff. No. But you're right. There's definitely a lot of parallels in what an evangelist does, and in terms of like the whole outbound, like sending that cold email, who to send the cold email to, and what problem might they have, and then that whole cycle of like building that relationship, and then. But there's the beauty of this is that it's not transaction driven. It's more about the overarching outcomes for not only Opera itself in that case, but also the ecosystem. That sets the right philosophy and mindset. And then you come off more genuine, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.